That's how I feel today.
Yeah, right. Uh,
Bearded Bear Podcast. Welcome back to another episode. Mike Reese, along with me as always, my guy Angelo Pasquinelli. It is now 4 days until Christmas, so we thought we would spice things up a little bit and take a step away from our beloved heartbreaking Bears and talk about the rest of the NFL a little bit. So we're gonna go through just a list of the awards that we think will happen, most disappointing team and a most surprising team, and just have a little fun with this conversation. And first off, Angelo, how have you been, man?
I've been good. Merry Christmas, everybody. Mike, I hope your holidays are going well so far. Um, how about you, Mike? How you feeling?
Same, man. Christmas shopping has been a bit tiring this year, like more than I can remember. I guess just a lot more people out, it seems, throughout the day, but I'm kind of ready for that to be over, ready to start the new year, not only because of the excitement around the Bears and what they'll do next season, but just another step, another year in life, man, another year of growth. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Um, so we'll start here. We'll talk about the NFL awards first. I'll let you go first. So I kind of set mine up with I have a couple in mind, and if you take one, I got somebody else to sub in for that. Uh, so I'll let you start it off with who do you think is the NFL MVP right now?
Before I say who I think will, are we doing who we think will win the award or who I truly believe should be the NFL MVP?
Just do who you think should be the MVP.
Okay. Listen, I gotta say, Brock Purdy has had an amazing season, and he's been playing almost completely out of his mind for a guy who's drafted last in the draft, Mister Irrelevant, as everyone knows it. And I mean, obviously, he's not irrelevant. And there's a lot of quarterbacks out there that have played very well this season. I myself personally am not huge on how the MVP is just a quarterback award. It actually nauseates me a little bit. We have, in my opinion, two guys who deserve to be at the top of that list, and that's Christian McCaffrey and that's Tyreek Hill. I think
Yeah.
both of those guys, if you take them off that team, Brock Purdy isn't putting up. I mean, by the end of the season, Christian McCaffrey will have over 2,000 all-purpose, yards. That's a lot, and he's got a ton of touchdowns. And Tyreek Hill may possibly be the first wide receiver to have 2,000 yards in a season. I personally believe that Tyreek Hill should win MVP. I think if you take him off the Miami Dolphins, they're nowhere near close to what they're doing because we can already see the impact it had last game without him. Even though they were playing the Jets, there were times where it was hard for them to score, and Tua really didn't have that good of a game. And I think Tyreek makes Tua better. So I personally think that Tyreek Hill should be the MVP of the National Football League.
Both of those guys were two people I had down for sure. Just to give a little context, like you said, Tyreek may be the first receiver to go over 2,000 yards. And even with him missing a game last week, he still has over 1,500 yards and 12 touchdowns, which leads the league in both of those categories. And again, like you said, that's with missing a game last week. And what I think people aren't fully realizing is Jalen Waddle is also having a pretty decent year. So those are catches and yards going to him, but also Mostert. He has 18 touchdowns on the season and
Yeah.
almost 1,000 yards rushing. So it's like when you talk about a guy who is truly making a crazy impact on an offense that has a lot of mouths to feed, Tyreek is the key to all of that. And I'm right there with you. Most valuable player should be exactly that. I do understand that the quarterback 9 times out of 10 is the most important person on the field, but when you're talking about a CMC and a Tyreek, those are just difference makers that no matter who's at the quarterback position, you can still rely on them to get it done. So he was my choice too. Um, but I'm gonna go Purdy actually. And my reasoning is Purdy has 3,795 yards passing, which is second in the league right now to Tua. 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, which is an amazing touchdown to interception ratio. They have the best record in the NFC, tied for the best in the NFL. And his QBR is 119 right
Yeah,
now,
ridiculous.
which is by far the best in the league. Next closest also Tua at 106. But for a lot of the season, I was on the, Purdy is a product of his environment train. And I do think he is to a certain extent. But at the same time, he still has to spread the ball around. He does have amazing accuracy and he throws with a lot of anticipation. And there's a reason they moved on from Trey Lance. Like if it was that easy, why didn't Trey Lance succeed? And I just got to give credit where it's due. I think Brock Purdy's having an amazing year, and I know the narrative shouldn't go into it, but it kind of does. Mr. Irrelevant, and now he's the most efficient quarterback in the NFL right now.
It's a good story, That's what the NFL is about is good stories, If he wins, I'm not going to be upset. Personally, I'd love to see Dak win because there's a lot of Dak haters out there. I
Yeah.
don't love him. I don't hate him. I see him for what he is, and he's a good quarterback. It's just Purdy's playing just out of his mind.
Yeah. And the thing with Dak, I think Dak had a very strong case up until last week. The Buffalo game, I think, really hurt his chances just because me and you both know the narrative around Dak is,
Yep.
he doesn't show up in big moments. When it comes to other elite quarterbacks, he's on the lower tiers of that. So playing Buffalo and getting their ass kicked like they did, I think really hurt. But you know who I would like to see it, even though he already won one, is Lamar. Lamar's going so under the radar, and unfortunately, he doesn't have the passing stats for it. But Ravens are 11-3. Lamar is 3,000 yards passing, 17 touchdowns, and he has 740 rushing. So
That's
it's
crazy.
like it's crazy, but he's not putting up the numbers to, passing wise, I think, for him to get that award.
And I think too, everybody evaluates their MVPs different, and a lot of times for me, I just think about if I take this guy off the team, how much of a difference is that going to make? Clearly, when Lamar was hurt all year, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
He is the difference maker on that team. It just sucks that there's so many other guys playing so well because Lamar could easily be leading in the MVP conversation for what Baltimore's going to do. But you know what? He doesn't really care. He wants to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get to that later when we talk about the teams we think will make it. Moving on to offensive player of the year, I'm gonna start this one off, and I'm just gonna switch. I'm just gonna go Tyreek. Um, it was really a toss up between him and CMC, but uh, 2,000 yards as a receiver would be a history breaking year. And I personally think he is going to get that with missing a game,
That's insane.
potentially over 15 touchdowns receiving is just insane to me. So I'm going to go Tyreek Hill for all the reasons you mentioned. Who you got for that award?
Well, before I get to that, like you said with Tyreek, is that he misses it. So, like, a huge knock on him breaking 2,000 was like he had one extra game and Calvin Johnson didn't. Well, if he hits it now with missing a game, I don't want to hear anybody talk about that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um, and I'm going to have to go. In a perfect world, my MVP would be Tyreek, and my offensive player would be Christian McCaffrey. I mean, McCaffrey's got he's got 20 touchdowns on the year total, and I mean he's just such a dual threat weapon. It's like there's games that I've watched the 49ers play where they cannot run the ball. Like he has no running room. But then he busts out for like 120 yards and a couple scores in that game catching the ball. That's crazy because you can't really take him out of the game. If you're a good passing team but a bad run stop team, he's going to run all over you and vice versa. Look what he did to Arizona last week. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just it's so it's such a toss up. I almost feel like if Tyreek doesn't hit 2,000 yards, they're going to give it to McCaffrey.
Yeah. I agree with that.
It's to me it's stupid because I think Tyreek should win it regardless. But I'm just, for argument's sake, I think Christian McCaffrey, they're like, if you were going to say Tyreek's like minus 100, then Christian McCaffrey might be plus 50. That's
Yeah.
like how close they are to each other.
Yeah, honestly, the game that comes to mind to like make CMC case is I believe he was hurt when the 49ers played Cleveland. I believe so. And by far, that was like the worst offensive performance from the 49ers this season. You see, he comes back and just the tear they've been on lately. Of course, Debo helps with that as well. But like you said, there is just he's the one true back in the league still where you can't just load the box and take him out of the game. You have Austin Eckler, which they've took a step back this year. But outside of him, you got Saquon, which the impact still just isn't the same. With he's a top 5 offensive player all around in the league, and he might be one of the greatest backs we've ever seen. Not just being honest, is his impact is definitely being felt on every play, even if he isn't running the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just so crazy to think that there's a lot of people who say like running the ball is dead. Running backs, they don't last as long. They don't get paid the same. It's a passing league. Well, here's a clear case where you can still be a running back who succeeds. You just have to be able to catch the ball. Like
Yeah,
he can do both. So running backs aren't dead. You just need dual threat now because they pass the ball so much.
right. 100%. The next one is rough, and I had a tough time actually picking someone for this award, but defensive player of the year, bounce back to you. Who you got for this award? I
Hey man,
think I know where you're going, but who you got?
it's easy for me. It's Miles Garrett. Uh, I seen him last week. You know, he just wrecks games. Literally stops whatever you're trying to do and destroys your game plan. I mean, Parsons also is up there for me. I think he's another one who should be. Again, it's like the Tyreek Christian McCaffrey thing, uh, but I favor Miles Garrett. I've seen him do it for so long, and he's just has such a high motor. He like never gets gassed. I don't know how he does it, what his conditioning is, but my God, is you said it last week or the last episode. He's a monster.
Yeah,
He's a monster. He's hard to stop. So
yeah.
I don't know his like personal stats and sacks and all that stuff, but with the eye test, I gotta go with him.
I didn't write his down. I believe he has 13 and a half sacks or so, it's somewhere in there. Uh, but yeah, man. I mean, you're on. I mean, he's the best player on the number one defense in the league. It's it's hard to go against Miles Garrett, especially with what they have been going through on offense, and they
Oh my
continue to
God.
win. He's just a game wrecker, like you said. We saw it firsthand last week. There were a couple guys to choose from. Miles Garrett being one. Max Crosby was like in the conversation
Mm,
for me,
yeah.
but I don't think the overall presence of Vegas defense, I think, is going to hurt his case, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense.
Um, TJ Watt, of course, but kind of the same thing with him. He leads the league in sacks right now with 16, but I kind of feel like his impact hasn't been as large as, let's say, a Miles Garrett, not because of him, but the surrounding cast.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, so I just went with who I think will win it, and I think Deron Bland will win it. I mean, he got cooked by DK, which it's DK, but he has
Right.
8 interceptions on the year and 5 returns for touchdowns, which is NFL history books. Um, it's hard to go against that. I wouldn't necessarily say I would vote for him to win it, but I think he will based off of that alone. Unless one of these edge rushers like get up above 20 sacks and make a push for it. I think as of right now, Deron Bland will win Defensive Player of the Year.
I I,
Uh
I wouldn't be surprised though if they don't give it to him.
for what reasons do you have?
Uh, I don't know. I just feel like Diggs didn't get it that year. He had all those interceptions, you know. So I guess the touchdown thing is huge, but I guess it. I think what hurts his case is Micah Parsons is on his team,
Hmm.
and everybody likes Micah Parsons. They think he's a tough player. I mean, he is. I'm not saying he's not, but I think because he can create havoc, Deron Bland benefits from it. At least
So
that's
you're
what.
saying the impact is like not as felt because you have that Micah Parsons helping you so much.
Right.
Yeah.
But you still got to get to the end zone. So he is making plays after he gets the ball.
Yeah.
So it would be awesome to see him win it. I just for some reason I just pulled up the FanDuel, rankings, and it's like
Yeah.
Micah Parsons, Miles Garrett, TJ Watt, those are the top 3 guys. So
Wow.
he's not even in the top 3, which is crazy to me.
That is crazy. Well, I mean, it makes sense though, because I mean, those were like the first three guys we named before we even got to a corner. It's hard for a cornerback to win that award, man. Just unless you're I don't know, you got to have like a Jalen Johnson type of shutdown, but with the interceptions and the touchdown returns too, on top of that.
I just think it's crazy. I think if you break history, you should automatically win that. Like that's crazy to me. He,
Yeah,
he's plus 3,500 right now.
that is crazy. Well, no, that is actually crazy.
Isn't it? Isn't that
Yeah.
crazy?
Yeah. It's such a passing league, and pass rushers are arguably the second most important position, So
Mm,
it's kind of like with MVP and quarterback, the most dangerous pass rushers are always going to dominate that defensive player of the year award, which they should. I mean, we saw last week, like you said, Miles Garrett, they can wreck a game the same way. A corner, you can kind of take out of it. How many times have we seen teams throw away from Jalen Johnson and it seems like he has no impact on the game? But
yeah,
in reality, they just weren't targeting him. You can't do that with a pass rusher. Even if you double that guy, then it's still impacting someone else on that line,
exactly.
which we've been seeing with Montez Sweat. And hopefully next year he can be in this conversation. If anything that we're seeing this year, hey, I don't know.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. All right, coach of the year. And there were a couple candidates I have for this one. I kind of feel like the coach of the year and the most impressive teams go hand in hand. But for me, I'm gonna go with D'Amico Ryans, head coach of the Houston Texans. Just what he's doing with that team, man. 8-6. They got a win last week without CJ Stroud or Tank Dell or Nico Collins. You got Case Keenum coming in getting dubs and meaningful December games for them.
Yep.
No one expected them to be in the race for a playoff, let alone a division title. If Jacksonville keeps losing, like, Houston's, they're right there. Um, and just how young that team is. They traded up last year, got CJ, got Will Anderson, and everyone was like, that's crazy moves for them, but they're going to be bad next year and they won't have a high pick. We were there. We were at the draft night. We heard it. And just to see them be 8-6 right now, who would have thought the Texans will have a better record than the Bears coming into the season? I got to
Hey,
commend that. First time head coach, first year quarterback. He's doing some good things down there in Houston.
absolutely, I agree 100%. That's who I think should win it also. But if I had another candidate, I would probably have to go with um, oh god, I just lost it. Mike McDaniel
Okay.
from Miami.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, obviously, we know that Tariq Hill can ball out. We know Raheem Mostert played well when he was in San Fran. You know, we know that we knew that Jalen Waddle was already a budding superstar. You know, we didn't really know what we had in Tua yet, but I think Mike McDaniel, when they talk about Coach of the Year, when they talk about who's a great all-time coach, it's you get the most out of every single player that's on the field. And I think Mike McDaniel does that, and he's an offensive genius. I mean, they put up 70 points this year. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's honestly ridiculous. So it would be nice to see him, win as well because I think he's deserving of it. But I agree with you, Mike. D'Amico Ryan's. I mean, if he doesn't win it, I'll be pretty upset because what more do you want from a first year coach? You want him to take him
Yeah.
to a Super Bowl with a first year quarterback? That's crazy to me.
Yeah. That is crazy. But I think with the Mike McDaniel case, like you said, a lot of people were Tua was gone. Like Tua was
Right.
done. Even Miami general manager front office didn't necessarily want Tua. And you have Mike McDaniel come in and transform that offense to probably the most explosive offense in the NFL. Um, I like Mike McDaniel a lot. I like his personality.
He's
Have you
pretty
been seeing
funny.
the clip of him and the from Hard Knocks?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's hilarious.
That's a funny clip, but at the same time, you have to appreciate the accountability that he has right there. He's like, "This is a trash call. I shouldn't put you in this position. Let's fix it and work on it." And those are the things you want from your head coach. Like you said, getting the best out of everyone else, but also holding them accountable while holding himself accountable. So Mike McDaniel is probably like the second option, honestly. It's like him, Dan Campbell. That's probably it, like
Oh,
the top three guys.
shout out to Shane Steichen though from the
Shane
Colts.
Steichen, yeah, for sure.
He's somebody else that could possibly win it just because you have Anthony Richardson. He was playing very well. Actually, at the time he went down, he was playing the best out of all the rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So I was like, damn, they lost him. They're gonna suck. Gardner Minshew comes in, who I personally believe should be a starter in this league, and I have for a long time. And he's making a case why, like, hey, I might not be a franchise guy, but if you put me, like, if you took him and put him on the 49ers, he's good. He'll be good there. I mean,
Yeah.
he's playing well for Indy, and Indy doesn't have a whole lot of weapons. So Shane Steichen, again, he's getting the most out of his players. I think it's awesome to see that kind of stuff.
You read my mind, actually, because most impressive team for me was the Indianapolis Colts. For everything you just said, AR going down, that's number 4 pick in the draft. He was playing well when he went down. Gardner Minshew stepping in and just they're seamlessly still winning. Like they're 8-6 going into Atlanta, where they're underdogs, by the way, FanDuel.
That's wild.
And they have a chance to be 9-6 with Gardner Minshew, Jonathan Taylor holding out, and now being injured. Their second best player has been Zach Moss. Like,
Easily.
like it's crazy what Shane Steichen is doing, and I'm so glad that you said that because that's my most impressive team. There were a couple others in there, like you could have went Houston, but I just think the job he's doing with Minshew, who's on a deal for nothing right now, and seems as though like a lot of other teams didn't really want him, which is why he signed for what he signed for,
Mm-hmm.
and making him look like a starter. I guarantee we can easily come up with 5 teams right now that he could start for in this league. And Shane Steichen is a huge part of resurrecting Gardner Minshew. If it wasn't for the Hamlin situation last year, I think he would win comeback player of the year for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my most impressive team, man. The Colts. Who you got for that?
It's I feel like it's an easy one to go with Houston. I think Houston is for sure one of the best picks. Between really the Colts and the Texans. I mean, like you said earlier, who would have thought they'd be 8-6? Who would have thought they'd been a chance to make the playoffs? Even so much so, CJ Stroud is just playing damn near flawless football. They have 2 running backs who've been playing well. Their defense is playing pretty good. And they lost Tank Dell for the year. And let me tell everyone that a broken leg isn't so easy to come back from. Tank Dell may never be the same player that we saw at the beginning of his career, but we won't know that until he gets back. Sometimes there's damage done to your nerves and other stuff. You're not as fast. Your bones heal together. You're a little bit shorter, so your steps are different. there's a lot of things that can happen from breaking your leg. So I really hope Tank Dell is, because I enjoyed watching him play alongside Nico Collins. I just think, like you said earlier, they're that young core that makes it exciting to watch. And CJ Stroud is so much fun to watch play. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he can escape pressure, but he's also somewhat of a gunslinger in my eyes. I mean, he fits the ball in places, honestly, sometimes I don't think he should throw, and it's a dot, literally in between the numbers. It's
Yeah.
fun watching him play, and I look forward to watching him play for the future. Um,
Yeah.
the only other team I would say maybe I would put in there, it might be a little weird, is Denver, just because of how terrible of a start they had to where
Yeah.
they are now, which is basically challenging for a playoff spot, which
Yeah.
is unbelievable. I think Russ has played pretty well all year. It just took Sean Payton a while to get the defense going and everything situated. So Denver would be another one in my eyes. I feel like you could throw in there.
Yeah. Denver, they got up to like a historically bad start.
Yeah,
Yeah, we talk about Miami putting up 70 like it was on Denver. That's some Madden shit.
yeah,
So to come back from that, and honestly, if the Chiefs kept losing, like they might have had a chance to win that division. Um, is just incredible. And of course, it all started in Chicago, but uh, of course we fixed them.
right.
Uh, but yeah, man, Sean Payton is doing a great job with Denver. I think they lost last week, or I
The
remember
week
seeing
before,
something about like Sean Payton and Russ.
getting into it.
Yeah, some shit on the sideline. But yeah, I'm with you for sure. Like, I kind of felt like Indianapolis and Houston were kind of just going to flip flop Coach of the Year, most impressive, because you really could go either way with
Well,
those choices.
one other team I just thought of, which is surprising, it just popped in my head, is the Bengals. Like,
Yeah,
that's pretty wild what they're doing. I feel like they're under the radar because Baltimore is playing so well. But I mean, shit, this kid that's backing up Joe Burrow, I mean, he looks like he could be a starter somewhere too.
yeah, which is insane because they're another team that started off slow. Like they started off really slow out the gates, and then because the calf injury from Joe Burrow, and they start to pick it up, and then he goes down, and everyone's like, oh well, they're out of it. Season's over. They're still in the wild card right now with Jake Browning.
Insane. That's another dude who's been playing just literally out of his mind.
Yeah, lights out ball. And Jamar Chase is out. He's been hemmed up
Yeah.
with some injuries. They're doing some impressive stuff. It makes you wonder how these backup quarterbacks can come in and be presentable and move the ball. And we have one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league, and we can't fucking score against Minnesota. So
Uh,
that's whatever, another day. Um, and to finish it off, most disappointing team. I hope we don't pick the same one, but who you got for this?
uh, I would say the Bears, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I would probably say the Minnesota Vikings.
Mm.
I was gonna say the Jets, but you really can't hold it against the Jets because of Rodgers getting hurt. But
Yeah.
the Vikings, like these other teams, like these Indianapolis Colts and the Bengals, they get a quarterback who comes in there and Josh Dobbs who's playing hot, and they could succeed with them because they also have a very, very good defense. And
Yeah.
for some reason, they couldn't put it together because Kirk was actually, when Kirk goes down, they're playing well. They're getting back to where they need to be. They're going to challenge probably for the division, I think.
Yeah.
And then he goes down. You bring in Dobbs. Dobbs plays well as the first week, and after that,
The
I
Bears
don't,
break them.
yeah, like I don't know what happened, but that it was disappointing because they were on the upswing. I feel like to me, and for them to just all of a sudden just start tanking, like I don't know, it
Yeah.
was pretty crazy to me.
We saw last year they won all those one score games. So naturally what they were like 14-3 last year, right? They had a crazy record.
Yeah,
You knew naturally that this year they would lose some of those games, but I kind of agree with you. I didn't think it would be to the point where they don't even make the playoffs, and the Packers arguably are going to have a better record than them. Hell, the Bears might have a better record than them at the
yeah,
end of
it's
this thing.
crazy.
So, um, I actually went with Chargers.
Oh,
Uh,
that's a
the
good one.
Yeah, the Chargers are just a mess, man. Justin Herbert's out for the year. They fired their coach. They fired the GM too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they got 60 put up on them by Vegas to a backup rookie. Um, and you're supposed to have all this talent on this team: Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, even though he was hurt, Austin Eckler. They drafted Johnston in the first round.
Bro, he's been ass.
He's been the worst rookie receiver by Tyler Scott's better than him right now.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert, Derwin James, Khalil Mack, like the Bosa, the list just goes on and on and on. And honestly, outside of the Bears game, they've been absolutely terrible this entire season. And you're supposed to have this top 10 franchise quarterback in Justin Herbert, and they can't do anything. They're supposed to be competing in that AFC West. You know, what did we say at the beginning of last year? That's supposed to be the best division in football. It's not. The shit's terrible. And the Chargers are a big reason for that. So I'm curious to see. I think that might be one of the most, if not the most coveted job this offseason, just because you do have all those pieces in place. And I mean, Justin Herbert is a talent, but for me, the Chargers have been, I don't want to say by far, but definitely the most disappointing team on the year. Um, if we had to put a ball on that December 21st right now, who's your Super Bowl matchup and who's your Super Bowl winner?
Um, I'm sticking with the Cowboys going to the Super Bowl and winning it, man.
Whoa.
I know. It's what I said at the beginning of the year, and I'm sticking with it. I know that sometimes they don't look good, but there is a part of me that believes that as long as they play most games at home, they can win. And I think if they end up playing the 49ers again in the NFC Championship, they're out for revenge.
Wow.
And I believe that Baltimore is going to come out of the AFC. Either
Okay.
one of those teams, Dallas or Baltimore. And more so, I'd like to see him win because I like both of the quarterbacks. I want to see either one of those guys get a ring. It'd be an interesting matchup because you'd have two really good defenses playing each other.
Yeah.
So I know it's like a little wild to say Dallas because like a favorite pick is the 49ers, but
Yeah.
I still think Dallas could win that division.
Okay. Hey, I'm gonna say this. Dallas has the talent too. Like it's not a bold prediction from a talent standpoint. It is really just they just never put it all together when it matters.
Right.
So the year they do that, they do have a good chance, especially if somehow Philly and the 49ers end up playing each other in the divisional round. Um, I just it's just Dallas, man.
I hear you. I hear you.
So who wins though? Who's Super Bowl winner?
Dallas.
Ravens. Dallas wins it all.
Yep. I think Dak has the game of his life.
Wow. Okay. Dak Super Bowl MVP. Okay. I'll tell you what, we'll see that shit on TV every day. America's team back on top. It would drive me nuts.
Yeah.
Uh I'm with you on the AFC part. I do think this is finally the Ravens' year, especially if they get home field advantage throughout. Going to Baltimore in playoff time, the way they're playing right now, that defense is, to me, probably number two, right under Cleveland.
Roquan's
Um,
there.
Roquan is there. Roquan is there. They're relatively healthy. Lamar's starting to get some chemistry with OBJ. The thing with Baltimore is they have to stay healthy though.
Yeah. They just
The
lost their rookie running back, didn't they? Didn't they
Yeah,
just
they
like
just lost Keaton Mitchell for the year.
yeah, that
Y-
hurts.
That was a nasty injury too.
Yep.
They never can keep running backs in healthy, which is
So weird.
it is weird. But I'm with you. The team that scares me is Buffalo because Buffalo is starting to get hot at the right time right
Yep.
now.
Yep.
And it's about who's playing the best in December. But the Ravens aren't falling off. They just came off a big Monday night victory against Jacksonville. The Chiefs, they're struggling. Mahomes is they just need some weapons.
Yeah, they don't have it, man. I'd be surprised if they even win their first playoff game.
Honestly, me too. And I think I said that at the beginning of the year, like that was my bold prediction. But as great as Mahomes and Kelsey are, you do still need some sort of a supporting cast. And right now, that receiving room, it might be the worst in the NFL. Like they're really bad. Um, but NFC, I know it's the boring pick, but I just don't see anyone beating San Fran right now. If San Fran is healthy, they have no weakness. Like, how do you beat them? Shootout, I guess.
Yeah, I guess if you can do a shootout against them.
Right.
Yeah,
They
I
got
mean,
the best. Go ahead.
the the way I look at it too is you never know what's going to happen in the game. Philly should have never beat them last year, but Brock got hurt, and then their backup has a concussion and he can't play. So Brock has to come in and just strictly hand the ball because he can't throw it. One of the wildest, like Philly knew that they had it. There was no
Yeah.
way. There was no way that they were going to lose because they knew the 49ers couldn't put up points. So
Yeah.
anything can happen. But like you said, if they're healthy, I don't know.
If they're healthy, I just don't see it. I will give you this though. I do think Dallas is more of a threat than Philly this year. Philly's not playing well. They're actually the opposite of what Buffalo is doing right now. Jalen Hurts is beat up. They got stuff going on in the locker room, and it's just not looking good for Philly. Their defense has been horrible the past few weeks. So
Yep.
I will give you, I think Dallas would be my second option to come out the NFC, but I think San Fran wins it all this year. I would love to see Lamar get a ring. I'm actually going to be cheering for Baltimore if the Bears don't make it, which they most likely won't. But I just think the 49ers are too much, man. That defense, CMC, Debo healthy, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, they just got too much, man. So I'm gonna go 49ers, my Super Bowl favorite right now. It's the boring pick, but
I like that though.
that was fun. That was a good exercise right there. I like that.
Yeah.
We'll uh, uh check back in with that obviously when playoff time rolls around and see where we are. So real quick, we do got a game preview. You got Bears Cardinals. Bears coming in at 5-9, Cardinals at 3-11. We'll make it quick and sweet. Uh Both of these teams, like surprisingly, their rankings are like eerily similar. You got the Bears ranked 22nd in offense, Cardinals 24. You got the Bears 14th in defense, Cardinals are 25, which isn't good. And passing, the Bears are 27th, the Cardinals are 29.
That's
And
weird.
in rushing, the Bears are 5th and the Cardinals are 7th. So hearing those, you think we're going to see a run fest, and Kyler and Justin are just going to make tons of plays with their legs.
Right.
But curious to hear what you think about this Cardinals matchup, and where are you leaning for?
I agree with you on that. I think it's going to be a lot of running. James Conner's a tough back, but he tends to get hurt often. So
Yeah, he does.
we'll see how he plays against the Bears because the Bears' run defense is pretty tough. Since Kyler's been back, they've played, I feel like, extremely well, but not well enough to win.
Yeah.
And what worries me is the Bears, I don't know, they seem to play down to the level of bad teams when they play them. When they play good teams, they play up to the level of those good teams and then lose at the end of the game. So
Yeah.
I'm afraid that the Bears are going to come in. It's going to be similar to Minnesota. They can't move the ball. They're having a hard time. Kyler has a decent game, and Arizona's defense isn't that good, and I think their tight end McBride is out also, and he's been like over the last like 4 weeks, he's been like a top 4 tight end, so that helps the Bears. But they have Rondell Moore, who's a speedster, and I guarantee you Jalen Johnson is not guarding him. It's Stevenson, and he will get burned. I know that's going to happen. It's just a fact. It'll happen. Moore's too fast. He's not going to be able to keep up with him. So I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be like 24-21, but I'm going to go Bears.
Hmm.
It the Cardinals worry me though.
The Cardinals have been scrappy. I hope people don't see that 3-11 record and just think like, oh, the Bears have this one in a bag. Outside of I think maybe three or four games, the Cardinals have been in almost every game. And people don't remember, but they beat the shit out the Cowboys
Yep.
earlier this year without Kyler. So they just beat Pittsburgh the week before their bye, Kyler's first game back, I believe. So, like you said, I think it will be I don't want to call it a struggle, but it'll definitely be tighter than what a lot of people think. The same thing we see with Justin Fields, like they have their own similar version of that. With Kyler, it's so unpredictable because at any moment he can create, extend a play out of nothing. So I think it's going to really be key for that Bears pass rush to stay disciplined in their lanes and in their gaps to not let Kyler break containment. Because if he gets loose, he's probably the fastest player on the field at that point. So I agree with you. I think they do hold James Conner in check. I don't think Hollywood is playing, or if he is, like he's so banged up. I don't really see how Arizona is able to move the ball consistently the way the Bears defense has been playing recently.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go a little lower. I think Arizona gets 17, but this part is going to surprise you. I think the Bears put up 31 this week.
Man.
Um, Reasons being, I said last week I think 24 would be enough to win the game. They needed 7 more. They should have had 7 more if Mooney catches the Hail Mary or Tunyon. Um, I hate when Eberflus says it, but they are close. They actually are. And like you said, they play down to their competition, but I think because Arizona plays up to their competition, it's kind of going to like even out somewhere in there. Uh, so yeah, I think Bears get it done 31-17. New Year's Eve game. I think it'll be a fun game though. I'm actually seeing a lot of overs if I had to put like some money on FanDuel, which I might. Won't be on Darnell Mooney though.
Yeah. Over 20. His like average on FanDuel is like 21 yards or something.
It's 21 and a half yards. So last week I made like a 7 leg for the Bears game, and the only leg not to hit was Darnell Mooney.
And if you would have caught that,
If he
that's
would have
it.
caught it, I would have been up. Uh
Oh man.
Give me a bold prediction from the game before we get out of here.
Um, I think this is the game Roshan Johnson has 100 yards in.
I can see it.
I
Yeah.
think they're gonna try and put him in more for pass blocking situations. Um, and surprisingly, he's caught the ball a lot out of the backfield, which is very weird to me because he really didn't do that in college. So, um, I think this is his game where he can really have a good game. Although it depends on how many touches he gets too.
Yeah.
If they're giving all the touches to Foreman and Herbert, but I think this is a game that he can have 100 yards in.
Yeah. Real quick before I give mine, the Bears running back room has surprisingly been pretty terrible. Um
It's
it's
been
it's actually like a
awful.
need
Yeah,
almost in the off season, which is crazy because what did I say they were ranked? 5th. They're ranked 5th in rushing, and last year they were first. A huge part of that is Justin Fields, I know, but even last year Herbert was leading the league in yards per carry. So I don't know if he's still banged up with the ankle thing or I don't know. The scheme isn't.
me personally, I just never thought he was like a starting running back. That's just me personally.
No, I agree. But even still, he doesn't have the burst like he used to have last year. Like last year, if he saw a gap, he would hit, and be out of there. But this year it's kind of jump cut and down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. But so your bold prediction is Roshan 100 yards rushing.
Yep.
First, it would be his first of his NFL career. Um, I'm gonna go Justin Fields 300-yard passing day,
Woo.
and reasons being that I mean the Cardinals are ranked 29th, and and pass defense. So it's not good. And I know Justin hears the narrative. I'm sure Getty hearing it. I know the offense wants to prove a point coming off the letdown they had last week. DJ is another week healthy. I think that they at least make the conversation more interesting. Next week, going into the new year, I think Justin Fields has a 300-yard passing day. That's my bold prediction for the game. I might have. Oh no, go ahead.
I was gonna say I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Just to make the conversation a little more interesting.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool, actually.
That would be the most Bears thing of all time. He has this amazing game, and now the pendulum swings back to keeping everybody.
Watch, he'll have a good game this game, a good game against Atlanta, and then shit the bed against Green Bay. Yeah. And then people will be like, get him out of here.
That is the way it's looking, man. So good stuff today. Definitely like switching it up. Going to have a lot more episodes like that as the season comes down to an end. Hope you all have a good, safe holiday, and we'll talk to you guys at some point after the Arizona game before the new year, hopefully covering a Bears win. And they're not out of it yet, Angelo.
Yeah, mathematically, they're not out of it. So if you got anything to wish for Christmas, wish for the Bears to make the playoffs. Merry Christmas, everybody.
8% chance, man. There's a will, there's a way. All right, Bearded Bear family, we will talk to you guys next time.